Sophie Cunningham owned Jacy Sheldon from the same game that Marina Mabrey did the massive body slam into Caitlin Clark on. She still owns Jacy. She still owns Jacy Sheldon. And what's great is she's got a great sense of humor about it, and she's not shy about it. I mean, what are they going?
Kind of crazy. This one is kind of crazy. When you get Sophie Cunningham to sign a Jacy Sheldon rookie card with property of, that is crazy. That is crazy. Property of Sophie Cunningham.
What happens when the WNBA's most watched superstar becomes the constant target of cheap shots, and her teammate decides she's had enough? That's exactly what unfolded when Sophie Cunningham, known as the league's black belt Barbie, stepped in to protect Caitlin Clark and left rival guard Jacy Sheldon with a new reputation she'll never shake. From a hard foul that sent shockwaves through the arena to an autograph that became an instant meme, Sophie didn't just defend her teammate, she changed the entire conversation around the fever, the WNBA, and what it means to have an enforcer on your side.
See, she's the problem. She is the problem.
Caitlin Clark's arrival in the WNBA wasn't just another rookie debut, it was a full-blown cultural event. Overnight, she became the league's biggest attraction, filling arenas, driving TV ratings, and turning every game into must-watch basketball. But with that spotlight came a problem. Clark didn't just draw fans, she drew opponents who saw an opportunity to make a name for themselves by roughing her up.
Sophie Cunningham has been Caitlin Clark's biggest cheerleader and defender.
And it literally pisses me off when people are like, she's not the face of the league.
Who would be?
What? When people try to argue that she's not the face of our league,
Yeah.
or if our league would be where we're at without her, you're dumb as
Yeah.
You're literally dumb as
The sad truth about this video we just watched is she is the first WNBA player I have seen to openly say this out loud.
Enter Jacy Sheldon, a guard whose reputation was already tilting toward too much contact. To Fever fans, it wasn't just coincidence that Clark kept ending up on the receiving end of Sheldon's elbows, bumps, and fouls. Then came the circus game, an infamous matchup that would light the fuse. Marina Mabrey had already leveled Clark with a bodycheck fit for the NFL, but before that, Sheldon had tested the waters with a foul that left Clark shaken and fans furious. For Indiana, this wasn't just basketball anymore, it was open season on their superstar. And in that moment, one teammate silently decided enough was enough. Sophie Cunningham wasn't going to let Caitlin stand alone. It happened in the third quarter. The Fever were trailing by 10, and Clark was trying to post up when Jacy Sheldon made her move. She caught Clark across the face, a foul that looked reckless, if not deliberate. Clark was furious, the crowd erupted, and suddenly the whole arena could feel the tension boiling over. Marina Mabrey piled on with her own cheap shot moments later, and what should have been a basketball game turned into a circus of frustration. But while most players would have shaken their heads and waited for the refs to step in, Sophie Cunningham was already taking notes.
Sophie commits a hard foul on Jacy Sheldon. Again, as Jacy Sheldon is going up for a layup, Sophie bear hugs her and takes her to the ground. What I will say is Sophie did not grab her and throw her to the ground. She didn't body slam her. She didn't do anything, in my personal opinion. Maybe I'm biased here, but I'm gonna give you guys my straight up honest opinion on this. She bear hugged her, took her to the ground. Yes,
This wasn't going into some complaint folder. It was going on her personal to-do list. Because Sophie understood something most teams pretend not to see. When your star player becomes the target, you either protect her, or you stand around and let her get bullied. Sophie chose option 1, and she wasn't about to do it quietly. Later in that same game, Sophie Cunningham made her statement. Jacy Sheldon went up for a layup, and instead of a soft contest, Sophie wrapped her up in a hard, deliberate bear hug that sent both of them crashing to the floor. It wasn't reckless, it wasn't a cheap shot, it was a clear, controlled reminder. If you come for Caitlin Clark, you answer to me. Some fans saw it as crossing the line. Others, they loved every second of it. To Fever Nation, this wasn't dirty basketball, it was justice. It was the physical warning that referees refused to give, delivered straight from teammate to opponent.
It was, to me, payback for what was happening the entire game. But she did it in a way that she wasn't going to injure Jacy. She was just making it known, like, if the refs aren't going to handle it, I will handle it. We'll take care of it, but this is not what you're going to do when you come into our house. It was an intentional foul. It was a hard foul. She brought her down. But with that, you guys, Jacy Sheldon got up and she was ready to go. So as you guys can see in this video, a whole scuffle breaks out. Sophie and Jacy are going after it. Both teams are running over, trying to break it up. It kind of goes into the...
Sophie wasn't going to let another foul on Clark go unanswered, and in that moment, she established herself as more than just a role player. She became the protector. But what really set Sophie apart wasn't just the hard foul on the court, it was what she did afterward, in a setting where nobody expected it. Fast forward a few days later. Sophie wasn't on the hardwood this time, she was at a Fever fan event, smiling for photos, signing programs, and chatting with supporters who had shown up hours early just to meet the team. It all seemed lighthearted, until one fan slid a Jacy Sheldon rookie card across the table with a very specific request. They didn't want just Sophie's signature. They wanted a statement. Sophie didn't hesitate. She grabbed the card, uncapped the pen, and wrote 3 words that set social media on fire. Property of Sophie Cunningham.
She's got all the aura right now. All of it. Got the podcast. And a damn good one. I mean, when's the next podcast drop? News is getting slow. There's got to be at least 3 or 4 good things in every Sophie Cunningham podcast.
The crowd around her lost it. Lexi Hull, sitting next to Sophie, burst into laughter as the fans roared. It wasn't just an autograph, it was a MIC drop, a declaration, a way of saying, Sheldon tried to take shots at Caitlin Clark, but now she belongs to me. The moment spread online like wildfire. Clips hit Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, everywhere. Memes popped up overnight, fans called for merch with property of Sophie Cunningham plastered across it, and Sophie's new persona as the Fever's enforcer was officially locked in. And the best part? She didn't backtrack. No apology, no just kidding, no PR cleanup. Sophie leaned all the way in.
Do you guys think this means anything? Like, obviously, when you get a Sophie Cunningham sign a Jacy Sheldon card, like, I think we should see that more in sports.
Every great superstar has needed an enforcer. Michael Jordan had teammates who racked up technicals on his behalf. Kobe Bryant had guys who absorbed the hits so he could keep scoring. Steph Curry has Draymond Green, the ultimate protector. And now, Caitlin Clark has Sophie Cunningham. What makes Sophie's rise so powerful is that she isn't just some end-of-bench bruiser. She's producing. Since the All-Star break, she's been stacking double-digit scoring nights, knocking down threes with confidence, and putting up 15, 18, even 20 points while still handling her enforcer role. She's not just a body to throw in the paint, she's a weapon. That balance of skill and toughness changed how Fever fans saw her. She wasn't just protecting Clark. She was sending a message to the entire league.
And it was 2-on-1. Yeah, I got tossed.
Did she?
Yeah.
Yeah. Then we're good. But so in a situation like that, does Caitlin come up to you after and say, like, because the internet whole thing was, look at fucking Sophie sticking up for Caitlin, like, this is dope.
But I was.
No, I know you were.
But in the locker room, I think she was like, finally, finally someone else. I was like, dude, I got you. Like, but I think that kind of had our team come together as a whole. And it's like, no, we gotta have like, it was
awesome.
Yeah, no, it really was though. Like, I feel like everyone was like, like we do have.
This team isn't soft, and our star isn't alone. It gave Indiana an identity, something fans could rally behind and opponents had to respect. And that's when her nickname started sticking, one that perfectly captured the blend of beauty, toughness, and swagger Sophie brought to the court. The internet has a way of branding stars overnight, and Sophie Cunningham was no exception.
God, I wish we had more teammates, or I wish more teammates of Caitlin Clark would get this fired up when their transcendent superstar, who's now hurt and has missed half the games this year, has been the target, that some of the other players would get a little bit aggressive on behalf of Caitlin Clark. Get in between something. You never, this is in the NBA. Every team in hockey, Wayne Gretzky, Michael Jordan, these transcendent stars, it's always the goon, the enforcer. In this case, Sophie Cunningham, normally these guys, they're not really putting up numbers. The difference here is Sophie Cunningham is a real basketball player.
Fans quickly crowned her with a nickname that stuck like glue, Black Belt Barbie. It was perfect, part playful, part intimidating, and exactly the kind of identity that thrives in the age of viral sports culture. Social media lit up with memes, edits, and jokes celebrating Sophie's mix of toughness and charm. Clips of her autographing property of Sophie Cunningham on Sheldon's rookie card spread like wildfire, with fans begging for t-shirts, posters, even merch lines dedicated to the moment. For once, the WNBA wasn't just about stats, it was about personality, rivalry, and theater.
The first half, the refs didn't call. Someone should have been thrown out, and the refs did not call it.
Correct. I remember that.
They didn't. And so I was like, all right.
She got full body chested.
By 3 people.
Yeah.
Like 2 people, they're like, oh, it's fine. I'm like, if that was anyone else, I would have been booted out of the game. I know that for sure. I'm a little sassy, but like, so are they.
Your leash is shorter though, because they know.
Literally. I don't even have a leash. I just have a freaking collar and a hand on it. Anyway, so there was like 45 seconds left. The girl stole the ball and I was running back and I was like, we're up. I don't need to foul. And I was like, just let her go. And I was like, all right, like, who cares? Last second, intrusive thoughts. I was like.
Meanwhile, Jacy Sheldon's image was moving in the opposite direction. Instead of being remembered for her play, she was being defined by fouls, trades, and now this viral humiliation. In just one move, Sophie had flipped the script. Clark was the star, Sophie was the protector, and Sheldon had been cast as the villain in the Fever's story. And what made it even better? Sophie wasn't apologizing, softening, or pretending it was all a joke. She doubled down, leaned in, and embraced her role as the face of Indiana's toughness. But beyond the laughs and the memes, this moment carried a deeper meaning for both the Fever and the league itself.
Is the reason we have been talking about the WNBA. Hate it or love it, it's true. I don't believe that Caitlin Clark necessarily wants that title that everyone has been giving to her. I think she just wants to be appreciated. And Sophie Cunningham, she just seems like such a real one, such a good friend. I think especially with women, especially elite level athletes, there's a lot of people, women, who will kind of stab you in the back. There's a lot of jealousy, a lot of resentment, especially when you're good. But Sophie just seems like such a girl's girl. I really, really like her. Maybe Caitlin Clark should do the next American Eagle campaign.
For Indiana, Sophie's actions went way beyond a funny autograph. They sent a message the whole league could hear. Caitlin Clark is not playing alone. Every star needs a shield, and Sophie Cunningham just claimed that role. That changes everything, not only for Clark but for the Fever's entire identity. Basketball fans love storylines, and this one gave Indiana exactly that, an enforcer who won't let their superstar get pushed around. It strengthened the locker room, fired up the fan base, and gave Fever Nation a reason to rally behind Sophie as much as Clark. Rivalries aren't just entertainment, they're good business. And suddenly, Fever games weren't just about Clark's highlight threes. They were about whether Sophie was going to clap back at anyone who crossed the line.
Her name rhymes with Schmatlin.
Kirtland?
Yeah. What has that been like, seeing her not only kind of transform a league, but also just be like,
no,
is that fair to say?
Not even just the league, but like
the
women's
sport.
basketball as a whole around the world. No, I think it's awesome. I think it's so funny because she's like 22, 23 years old. And
on the other side, Jacy Sheldon's reputation took a serious hit. Instead of being celebrated as a top 5 draft pick, she's now more famous for fouls, trades, and the moment Sophie claimed her in front of the whole world. That's the kind of narrative that sticks, and it doesn't fade quickly. For the WNBA, it showed something bigger. Personality sells. Fans don't just want scores and stats, they want drama, humor, rivalries, and players who aren't afraid to speak or write their truth. And Sophie Cunningham gave them all of it in one unforgettable package. But the story doesn't end there, because the next matchup was already circled on everyone's calendar. By the time the Fever's schedule showed another matchup with Jacy Sheldon's squad, fans were buzzing. Social media was filled with questions. Would Sheldon try to make a statement? Would Sophie double down? Would Caitlyn finally get the protection she deserved without needing her enforcer to step in? That game wasn't just about basketball anymore, it was about pride, payback, and whether the rivalry would explode again. Cameras were ready to catch every bump, every stare, every little shove between Sheldon and Sophie. And fans were on the edge of their seats, waiting to see if the next chapter of this feud would turn into fireworks. Because here's the truth, when a player like Sophie Cunningham draws a line in the sand, the entire league notices. Cheap shots suddenly feel a little riskier. Opponents think twice before testing Clark. And Fever Nation? They've got an enforcer they can cheer for as fiercely as their star. The only real question left is this: was Sophie's property of Sophie Cunningham moment the perfect clapback, or did it just pour gasoline on the fire? Sophie Cunningham didn't just foul Jacy Sheldon. She didn't just sign a rookie card. She built a brand. In one season, she transformed from a solid role player into the Fever's enforcer, the protector of Caitlin Clark, and one of the league's most talked about personalities. She proved that toughness and skill aren't opposites, they're a deadly combination. And she showed every opponent in the WNBA that Indiana isn't going to stand by while their star gets targeted. Meanwhile, Jacy Sheldon is left with a reputation she never wanted, remembered less for her talent and more for being on the wrong side of Sophie's pen. It's a storyline that proves one thing: sometimes, the game is about more than points and wins. It's about identity, loyalty, and the moments fans will never forget. So now the question is yours: was Sophie's viral property of Sophie Cunningham moment the ultimate clapback, or did it just set the stage for even more drama? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and let's hear where you stand. And if you love stories like this, where the rivalries are heated, the drama is real, and the players aren't afraid to speak their minds, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss the next one. Because if this season has proven anything, it's that the Fever aren't just playing basketball, they're writing history.